Hello, friends. Are you ready to do some nonsense word practice before we get to our book here in Bulldog Books? Remember how this works, where you have 1 minute to read as many of these nonsense words as you can. Now, just as a quick review to get your brain warmed up and ready to go, we're going to read the top line all together. Follow my cursor with your eyes. Mit, rot, gob, Haas, then. It is your turn, friends. On your mark, get set, go. All right, you are now going to pause the video, go back and count all of the words that you were able to read in that minute, and remember to keep track of your score so you can see if you are improving each time. We are moving on to our book. This is a fable, and remember, a fable is a story that we are supposed to learn something from. The title of this fable is The Fox and the Crow. The author's name is Diane Marwood, and it's illustrated by Barbara Nasabeni, I think is how you say her name. So this story, as we read it, let's see if we can figure out what it is the author wants us to learn or what the moral of this fable is. You are going to read to me. We'll do this as an echo read, and then I'll have you read some of the pages on your own. So let's start on this page with this picture of this interesting crow. Are you ready? One day, Crow sat in a tree holding some food in her beak. Now your turn. Now let's see if you can read this page all by yourself. Now we'll echo read. He thought of a clever way to get it. Now your turn. What does it mean to be clever, friends? Yeah, clever means smart. Clever can be tricky. My turn first. How beautiful you are, Crow, he called loudly. Your turn. If your voice was as beautiful as you are, you would be the queen of birds. Now it's your turn. See if you can read this page all by yourself. I'll read it to you just to make sure you got all the words. Crow had always thought she was beautiful. Now we'll echo read. She thought her voice was beautiful too, so she cawed loudly. Your turn. Let's read her speech bubble all together. Caw! The food fell out of her beak. Your turn. Oh no. And Fox gobbled it up. Do you remember the name of the punctuation at the end of this sentence on page 18? That exclamation point tells us when we read, we've got to have a lot of feeling in our voice. Silly crow, laughed Fox. Your turn. Ooh, so now we get to have a little bit of a puzzle game fun. What we're doing on this puzzle is putting these pictures in the right order that they happened in the story. So let's see, we have picture A, we have this picture of the food falling out of Crow's mouth. Picture B is the fox, he can see the crow. Picture C is the crow with the food in her mouth. And it looks like the fox is talking to the crow in picture D. In picture E, he is eating the food. And in picture F, we see Crow using her voice to sing. So which picture, if you look at all 6 of these pictures, which picture do you think goes first? Let's see, I'm going to write it down. I think the first picture is the picture C with the crow with the food in her mouth. So take a look. I wrote the letter C. If you want to write it on a piece of paper, you can too. Okay, so now that we have C, what do we think happened next? I think that probably B, where the fox sees the crow with her food in her mouth. So I wrote down B. Then we know the fox starts to talk to the crow because the fox wants her food. So which picture shows the fox talking to the crow and the food is still in her mouth? Right, so now we've moved on to picture D. Very good, very good. Okay, so far we have 3 pictures. We have 3 more to go. So he convinces the crow, she's so beautiful, right? And he says, if your what is as beautiful as your face and your feathers, her voice, he's like, I bet it's, if your voice is as pretty as you are, it's amazing. And she's like, why, yes, it is. I am beautiful. So I think we are on number, or I should say letter F. Is that what you came up with? Did you think she goes to sing and says, caw? Yeah. So look what we have so far. There's our letters. Okay. Now we have 2 pictures left. Do you think the next picture is picture A or E? Yes, I agree. I definitely think it's picture A. She's gone to sing. Her mouth opens, the food falls out, and we are left with picture E as the last picture in this story where the fox opens his mouth as the food drops and eats poor Crow's dinner. So at the beginning of the book, I asked you to kind of think of what do you think the moral of this story was? I kind of feel like the moral of the story has to do with the fact that Crow was a little bit kind of full of herself. And she's like, I am so beautiful. And you're right, I do sing beautiful. And sometimes it's easy for us to get a little bit too full of ourselves. So we have to be careful about that. So I hope you don't end up losing your snack because you are too prideful and think you're too pretty or too cute or too whatever. I had a great time reading this fable with you today. I'll see you next time on Bulldog Books.